Hi, I'm Bill Fries. We're here today to help you build your first off-road electric RC car. The subject of today's video is the Kyosho Raider, an entry-level two-wheel drive buggy. A little later in the tape, we'll move on and take a look at the current world champion, Kyosho Ultima. And a look at the Optima Mid, hot four-wheel drive contender. Finally, the Kyosho Big Brute Car Crusher. Let's take a look at the tools you'll need now to build your RC car. Here are the tools you'll need. A needle nose pliers, a scratch awl, a nut drivers, Phillips head screwdriver, Lexan car body scissors, flat blade screwdriver, a wire cutter, CA glue, utility knife, and car body paint for the Lexan body. The most important part of your kit is never going to make it out to the racetrack. That's the instruction manual. Take a look at the last 3 pages of the manual and you'll find a detailed parts locator for every part in the kit. Be sure you find each before you begin any of the steps. This is the chassis. It's the backbone of your car, and all your other parts will be attached to it. We all know what wheels and tires are, and you'll be assembling these a little later on. This is the motor, and here's the gearbox. This is the receiver. It's the onboard radio link between you and your RC car. These are batteries. We've got a NiCad, which powers the car, and alkalins, which are used to run your transmitter. This is the front suspension. It consists of a shock absorber, upper and lower arms, a steering arm, and an axle on which the wheel rides. This is our rear suspension assembly. It's made up of a shock absorber, a mount for the shocks, upper and lower arms, axle, and a drive shaft. The shock absorber allows motion to keep the wheels in contact with the ground. This is a steering servo with the servo saver constructed and attached to the top. The servo saver will isolate your servo gear train from the motion of the front wheels. This is our speed controller and resistor. This will give you 3 forward speeds and 1 reverse speed. This is the Lexan car body. The first step in building your car will be to assemble the shocks. The Raider uses a simple friction shock. Let's take a look at the parts. We've got a shaft, which we'll have to grease before we install it in the shock, a cap, which will hold it in place, a shock body, a spring, which will be mounted over the shock body, 2 keepers to hold the spring in place, and a top and a bottom mount, which will hold the shock to the suspension of the car.
Is monster trucking rock and roll or what? But you know, there is one thing that bugs me just a little bit. The wimped out springs that come with these kits. But it's no problem. Don't spend a lot of money on new shocks. You see these things here? Tie wraps. 1, 2, 3, 4, whatever you need. Believe me, there's a big difference.
The heart of your car is the engine gearbox assembly. We've pre-assembled the motor itself to the gearbox, and we've dropped in the first idler gear. Metal bushings are used at the wear points, and as we go along, we'll be greasing the bushings to reduce friction. The counter gear is installed here in the center of the gearbox, and we'll wiggle it in there. We'll slide the shaft through, and again, be sure you lubricate this, because this is a wear part. And then carefully, I don't know if our camera will catch it, but we do have to put this small pin through the little hole here in the counter gear. little difficult to do when we use the needle nose pliers. And with a little luck, we've got it. And we'll push the shaft the rest of the way. You'll find that the pin engages a keyway, and a circlip will lock the shaft in place here on the far side. Finally, let's take a look at the differential, which we're going to install now. The differential allows the two wheels to move at different speeds as the car goes around a corner. And this accommodates for the larger radius of the turn itself that one wheel must follow. The differential's in place. Again, we've lubricated. And I think, if we've done everything right, we can show motion of the whole assembly now by moving one of the gears. We're going to dab a little grease onto each of the gears, and that'll work its way around. First couple of times we use the motor.
Yeah, Mom, brushing my teeth. Oh, good morning. My name's Chris Chianelli. And you know, every time I brush my teeth, I brush my gears.
Brush your gears?
Yeah, what's the matter with you people? Don't you know nothing? Toothpaste is lapping compound. So what you do when you put your differential together, you put toothpaste on all the gears, put it together, run it for no more than 5 minutes, then take it apart, rinse off all the toothpaste, then reassemble it with grease. You'll have a smooth differential. Believe me, it works.
Let's take a look at a completed motor, gearbox, and rear suspension assembly. We've added the parts necessary to mount the rear suspension. We've added the shock absorbers, control arms, drive shafts, and finally the wheel shafts. Right now, we've got that part that transmits the power from your car to the dirt. We've placed the lower control arm on its shaft and tightened the small 2mm set screw that holds it in place. Be careful not to over-tighten that. The tendency might be to get a little too tight. We've used a small spring, which was supplied, and placed it inside the opening on the drive shaft and added some grease. Now we're going to take the